Good morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of digital switching system. So in this session, we'll be starting off with the next part of module 5, which is related to a generic digital switching system model. So in previous sessions, we had discussed a few of the concepts related to the hardware and the software aspects of a digital switching system. So in respect to that, we came across all the different hardware components which are involved in the switching aspects of a digital switching system. Then what are the different software components which are involved. Then apart from that, we looked into the analysis of the hardware and the software components. Now with reference to these, let us move further and see what is a generic digital switching system model implies. So we in this case what we do is we develop a detailed switching system model based on which we can develop the entire digital switching system. In order to do this, we have to go through a few of the concepts which are related to the hardware architecture and the software architecture. And in the previous topics we had discussed regarding maintenance aspects also, in which we came across what is meant by say level 1 control, level 2 control and level 3 control, and what are the operating systems involved in each of the cases. And then we had discussed what are the say software linkages. And we had discussed what is meant by a system outage with respect to a digital switching system. And then we had seen what is the impact of that outage and how it can be reduced, and how software patches have to be utilized. So these are the things what we had discussed. So those all are the references which are required in this part of the module. So what is the scope of this entire part of this module? So in this module we'll be trying to go through what is a generic digital switching system, then what is the hardware architecture under it, and what is the software architecture required for the same. And then we'll look into what are the functionalities of the digital switching system. Already we had discussed what are the functionalities of a general digital switching system, so it is a kind of refresher what we'll be having here. Then what is meant by system recovery, and what are the different ways the recovery will be initiated. And then lastly, what is meant by analysis and for what purpose it has to be used. So these are the things what we'll be discussing in this part. So let us move further and move to the first part of this module, that is hardware architecture. Now here we can see that previously we had discussed in previous part of this module as to what are the functionalities of the interface controller, what are the functionalities of the say NCP, that is network control processor, and what is the functionality of a switching fabric, and what is the functionality of a central processor, and how they are linked, and what is the operating system related to all these things. So it is again a repetition kind of thing, but let us just try to move further and see what all things we can just have a relook at. So as we had observed, CP, which is the central processor, which is a kind of heart of this entire system. Now in this case, CP, as we had specified, that it controls different NCPs. Now NCPs in turn control multiple interfaces, and NCPs will be interacting with each other. This is all because they have to keep their databases updated, and NCPs also have to keep their databases updated by exchanging some information with the NCPs. And interface controllers say this also requires a OS, operating system. But in this case, what is interface controller doing is it is trying to provide the interfaces between the line module, trunk module, or peripheral module, or data module, or remote module, or any module which will be related to the say customer end or the subscriber end. Apart from that, we can also specify that it also links to the central office which is related. Now apart from this, we have the switching fabric, which will be basically what we specify, will be operating in the TST mode. T stands for time in both this thing, and S stands for space. So this is basically a switching concept. This is basically a switching concept. We'll be having a time switch, we'll be having a space switch, and then again we'll be having a time switch. So in later parts of this module, we'll just look how this TST comes into existence. Then also we had discussed in previous module that what is meant by maintenance controllers and what is meant by tape units. For example, it is the billing tapes which are utilized. Now we also had seen that central processor operating system is heavily loaded as compared to that of the NCP, and the NCP operating system is heavily loaded as compared to that of interface controller. And these CP, NCP and IC are nothing but either they are processors or the controllers, what we had looked after. Keeping this in mind, let us start off with the hardware architecture relevance. In the central processor CP, this is basically the primary processor which is present in this entire hardware architecture. Now it basically provides a system-wide control of the switching system. So entire system is taken care by the central processor, but with the help of the other elements. Now apart from this, it supports the second level processors, which are nothing but the NCPs which are present here. So central processor provides high level functionalities. So basically it is supporting high level functions such as it is supporting, say, the billing system, it is supporting the maintenance system, it is supporting the NCP functionalities. Then apart from this, it supports the operation, administration and maintenance aspects. So in short, it is also termed as OA and EM functions. So these are just few functionalities what we have mentioned, which the central processor will be looking after. Now central processors should maintain a copy of itself. Now why this has to be done is, if a central processor, say for example this central processor goes down, then we cannot wait until it entirely gets repaired, as to we don't know what might be the fault or how much time it will be take to rectify the fault. So what is the one of the alternative is, we can keep a copy of this CP and use this copy until this central processor is up and running again. So that is what it will be doing. So in this in simple form, what it will be doing is, say as we have say for example in the operating systems, say when we are using a software, so in the operating system you have an option that you want to recover, you can maintain a recovery point in the entire system. In the similar way, we can have a recovery point for the processor. Say what I'll do is, today I'll store a copy of this central processor, entire operation what this central processor is doing. So if I keep a copy of this, and if say after 4 days this fails, so what I can do is I can go back to the copy which was created 4 days back and I can utilize it, assuming that everything is fine, and again it will run. So with minor changes, again we can go ahead with the operation till the entire processor is up and running. So that is what is the specification of central processor. Then apart from this, let us come to the next this thing, that is, which is the NCP. So we have multiple NCCs which are present, which are in turn controlling the multiple ICs in their respective connection. Then it is also coordinating the activities with the CP, that is central processor. So these are all second level processor. CP is the first level and this is the second level. Now what is the purpose of these NCPs? So its purpose basically is to provide call processing functions. Then apart from that, it helps in setting up the path through the switching fabric. So here we can just see that if somebody on this line module calls, then interface controller gets that information. That information is passed through the network control processor. Now network control processor has to provide the path using this switch fabric. So basically, if you just see, it is involved in the call processing parameter, and along with that it is helping in establishing the switching connection between the calling customer and the called customer. So it is basically trying to establish the path between them using the switching fabric. Then comes the interface. It coordinates the interfaces which are relevant to the interface controllers. So this is all what NCP is involved about. So next comes the next level of processor, which is the related to the interface controller. So what is the purpose of this? It basically acts as a concentrator. Now if I just observe, there are n number of inputs to this. Now on one line module there may be one customer, on a trunk module there may be n number of customers. So what is happening is, I have say m number of inputs to the IC controller, and I have n number of outputs to this. So if I just see, number of inputs is greater than number of output. So input trunk is greater than the input line is greater than the number of output. So this is nothing but relevant to the concentrator, so which will be having many inputs and less number of outputs. So that is what interface acts as. Then apart from this, it basically does what is, since we have many inputs here, it makes use of the time multiplexing aspect. So each user is given a time slot, and during that time slot, if he has data, he'll be sending it, or if he doesn't has the data, then he'll not be sending it. So each of the person will be given some opportunity during a delta amount of time, and during which all the data is clubbed and then sent at the other end, that is to the NCP. Interface controller has to give the updates to the network control processor, and it is basically looking into the time switching function. Since it is making use of time multiplexing, it also looks to something specified as time switching. So that is where the first T term in the switching fabric comes from. So we'll be looking as to what is related to these things. So these are the topics related to CP, NCP and IC. Now let us come to the different module interfaces which are present here. So in this one we had come across a few of the things, that is line module and the trunk module. So along with that we can have again peripheral module and other modules. So let us see what are the relevance to these things. So most common which occur in almost with all the ICs is the line module and the trunk module. In short, they are termed as LM and TM. Now what does LM look for? LM basically looks for the call processing tasks such as scanning the customer's line. Then it tries to gather the digits which are dialed by the customer. So digit collection is another aspect which it looks after, and then it looks after for the call supervision once the call has been established. Now the trunk module, it interfaces different kinds of trunks to the digital switching system. Apart from this, we can have some special modules which may be required for provision of interfaces for some special features. Now for example, previously telephones were basically used only for calling purpose, so to make calls, but later on the same telephone was used to provide the internet service. So when we come to internet, then we should be having the computer. So when computer comes into play, the computer will be operating using digital aspects. It will be operating using the digital parameters. If I have to provide some internet facility, then I should look after how this digital service will be provided. For example, we had something called as ISDN. Then apart from that, we had something termed as AIN. So these are just a few examples of the digital services what we can look after. So what is meant by ISDN is Integrated Services Digital Network, which was basically related to the digital parameter relation for the entire network. Then AIN was another Advanced Intelligent Network. So these are the special kind of services, just few examples. These are special kinds of services which were basically required by the user, and for such provision the interface control